You ever have a morning where everything feels normal, quiet even, and then in a snap, your whole life turns into somebody else's circus? That was me, standing barefoot on my porch, coffee in one hand, thinking about fixing a squeaky barn door, when 3 giant charter buses come lumbering down my gravel driveway, like the county fair lost its way and picked my place for the grand finale. Doors swing open and it's a flood, parents with coolers, kids with inflatable ducks, old-timers lugging folding chairs, all pouring out like someone turned my pasture into Disneyland. And nobody bothered to give me a heads up. Then out comes this big vinyl banner, stretched by a couple of teenagers who look like they've never met a boundary they couldn't ignore. Summer extravaganza. Thank you to our generous host. Yeah, that'd be me, apparently, according to Mara Keene, HOA president and my personal headache for the past year. Clipboard, pink suit. And that posture only earned after decades of telling people where to park their cars. I wish I could say I was shocked, but if you've ever dealt with an HOA president with too much free time, you know exactly the brand of entitlement I'm talking about. Mara gives me a queenly wave, like I'm just another prop in her parade, then starts barking orders. Tables here, volleyball net there. Let's keep the goats out of the photos. My goats looked about as pleased as I was, which is to say, not at all. But here's what Mara hadn't figured on, after she sent her second letter threatening to annex my land for some greenbelt fantasy. After the flyers mapping out my acreage like it was a monopoly board, I upgraded my gate. Electronic lock, timer, the whole bit. I might not be the confrontational type, but my granddad always said, "Son, draw your lines, or someone else will draw them for you." So at 9 a.m. sharp, while Mara's crowd is still milling around, I finish my coffee, check my phone, and tap close. The gate swings shut with a satisfying clank, red LED flashing. The whole party stops dead. Parents, kids, bus drivers, all looking around like the plot just took a left turn. I step off the porch, gravel biting my feet, and say, calm, just like Dad taught me. You're all on private property. Mara storms over, flips her megaphone to max volume, and hollers, "Open this gate, Ethan. This is community land now. We're reclaiming public space from selfishness." And that word, selfishness, hits harder than I care to admit. This land's been in my family 3 generations. No HOA dues, no rules about barn paint, and definitely no right to claim it's public because some map would look prettier with it colored green. I nod at the banner. You printed a lie, Mara, and bust a crowd onto it. The bus driver shuffles over, sheepish. Ma'am said it was a public event. I sigh, tell him to park tight and call his dispatcher because nobody's going anywhere until the sheriff sorts this out. And wouldn't you know it, tucked under an oak tree, I spot Paul from zoning. Poor guy trying to look invisible. He'd warned me Mara was stirring this up. But there he is, stuck in the splash zone anyway. I don't rant. I just wait, leaning on a fence post, letting the awkwardness settle over the crowd like summer heat. People start realizing this isn't the park day they signed up for. Kids whine. Parents start scrolling their phones. A few folks fan themselves with HOA newsletters. My goats, smart as ever, head for the far paddock. The crowd splits into camps. Mara's loyalists, practical folks lining up by the buses, teens filming on their phones because, of course, everything's content these days. Mara tries a piece. Offering. Just open the gate. Ethan, call it a misunderstanding. I point at the volleyball net, the HOA coolers. Sheriff will handle it. Not going to be called a kidnapper because you lied. The word hangs there. Someone yells kidnapping, which earns them a chorus of trespassing. It's a standoff, Texas style, only with more sunscreen and less dignity. By late morning, the shade's the hottest commodity going. Bus drivers look ready to quit. Paul's using his tie to mop sweat. I check my cameras, drone, porch, fence line, everything recording, not to humiliate anyone, but because if this goes sideways, I want the truth, plain and simple. Then, just before noon, things twist. 2 news vans show up, local stations, big antennas. Mara snaps to attention, makes a beeline for the gate, and launches into her speech. This man has unlawfully detained families on community land. You ever hear a lie die halfway through? A reporter fires back. Do you have permission to be here? Mara blinks, lost for words, and then Paul stands up, clear as day. It's private. We told her. The crowd turns. A woman waves the flyer at a camera. She said it was our park. Mara drops her megaphone, the hollow thunk sounding almost poetic. Now it's my turn. I walk up, let the cameras frame the shot. This is my land. These folks came without permission. I locked the gate for safety, called the sheriff. Let him sort it. Blue lights roll in, dust curling. Sheriff Dalton Reed steps out, takes in the scene with that face that's seen every flavor of dumb. He looks at the buses, at me, at Mara melting in her suit. Ma'am, why are you on his property? 6 words, worth putting on a mug. She tries the community line, but when he asks for her deed, she's got nothing. I hand over mine, title, tax receipts. He nods, that'll do. Crowd's restless. You want to press charges? He asks. Not today, I say. I just want him gone. He boards the buses like a teacher wrangling a field trip, Mara the last to leave. She hisses, you humiliated me. I shrug. You did that to yourself. I just locked the gate. The buses roll out. Dust settles. My pasture, finally quiet except for the goats. But you know how it goes. Pride doesn't quit that easy. Next day, my voicemail's full of lawyer talk about unlawfully detaining families, accusing me of putting kids at risk, all fancy ways of saying, you didn't let us steal your land. I call Lena, my lawyer, sharp, no nonsense. You're fine, she says. Document everything. Don't take the bait. Mara pops up on TV, tries to spin the whole thing as a misunderstanding about boundaries and a dangerous hermit with a gate. But the sheriff's clip goes viral. Ma'am, why are you on his property? And Mara's story unravels. Then comes the paperwork barrage, land use reviews, random drones over my barn, cars idling at the road filming my fence like it's the OJ. Crime scene. If she couldn't win in the field, she'd try to win on paper. But here's the kicker, the twist nobody saw coming. Word gets around that the HOA board is sick of Mara. Turns out, event money's missing, bus invoices don't match any votes, and suddenly, she's out. I get a letter from a bunch of families who were on those buses, apologies, offers to testify, quiet admission they got played. A week later, Mara's out completely, lawyer in tow, a moving truck in front of her house. New bylaws go up. No more big spends without a real vote. One evening, Frank, a former board member, shows up with a thumb drive, emails, receipts, the whole rotten playbook. Lena lights up. This is your injunction. We file, judge stamps it quick, and for the first time in months. I breathe easy. Sheriff says they'll enforce it. That night, cameras catch flashlights at the gate, but nothing more. Just curiosity, nothing criminal. A reporter calls me the locked gate rancher. Makes me sound more heroic than I feel. And then, finally, the county truck pulls in. Paul hops out, grinning, hands me the paperwork. My land, forever outside the HOA, permanent. Untouchable without my say-so. I sign it, walk back to the porch, and read every line like a prayer. Not because it gives me something new, but because it puts in writing what my family always knew. This land is ours. We take care of it. We fight for it when we have to. One fence post, one hay bale, one storm at a time. Mara's ending wasn't some dramatic showdown. It was just sad, her keeping her head down in court, the HOA rewriting the rules to keep another mess from happening. I didn't gloat. Obsession is its own punishment. A week later, Maple Ridge sends me an invitation, not to negotiate, just to talk. I go. They apologize, I accept. We talk fences and phones, respect and boundaries. One kid asks if she can meet a goat sometime. I laugh and promise to introduce her to my friendliest one. So now, the gate that caused all the trouble? Just a gate again. Most nights, I still lock it, but sometimes, when the air's right and the only thing moving is a dragonfly on the breeze, I leave it open. Because I can. That's the point. Folks drive by, snap a picture, tourists of a meme. Some are homeowners who wish their own lines held up as strong. Paul drops by for lemonade. Lena sends goat Christmas cards. The sheriff gave me a mug. Ma'am, why are you on his property? Makes me smile every time. If there's a moral here, it's not about laws or bylaws. It's about respect. Community isn't a weapon, and boundaries aren't suggestions. You want peace, you hold your ground without picking a fight. Now, I want to hear your take. If those buses showed up on your land, would you lock the gate or swing it open and duke it out later? Where do you draw your line between community and control? And just how much power should an HOA have? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me where you think I was right or wrong. And if you know someone who always says, there ought to be a rule, maybe send this story their way. Sometimes, the answer isn't more rules, but better neighbors, and a gate that only opens when you say so.